I just got done watching the latest Warski live stream, and I wanted to make some comments. Now, this one in particular was interesting because Andy brought on 3 people that are quote-unquote leftists. One person who I assume is Antifa. That's what they called him. And he brought on Enoch, which is an interesting choice. First off, I'd like to say that I knew this debate was going to be a shit show from the start, simply because Enoch does not share any values with the 3 leftists. So it is, of course, going to be a dogpile. And, of course, JF and Andy are supposed to be moderating the stream, so it would be impolite for them to chime in, but that just leaves it in a 3v1, which is precisely where this stream went. Enoch is not the best debater in the world, but I do think that he stood his ground quite well in this debate. Even in a 3v1 situation, I think he did quite well. And of course the leftists went to their usual tactics of non-arguments and semantics and screaming back and forth, shouting over each other until the moderator stepped in. So a very standard issue left versus right debate. But let's talk about Antifa for a minute, because I haven't mentioned this organization very much on my channel yet, if at all. And the difference between radical left Antifa and the fringe right groups that they're supposedly against. This was pointed out in the stream about halfway through, but in theory, Antifa does what it does because it thinks it's in defense of their ideology, and they think that the right is going to do more damage than it could possibly be caused between an ideological clash like this. So they use violence in order to stop someone as they see as an enemy. And it's also claimed that the right does this as well, that they see the left as an enemy and that they will fight them. However, there is a huge difference between these two groups, and I want to talk about that right now. Antifa does not have a codified or even coherent ideology. A lot of them are anarchists, a lot of them are communists. Yes, there is a difference. Lots of them are socialists, lots of them are Democrats, some of them are egalitarians. It's too wide of an ideology to just say, oh, he's Antifa, and then list off all the things he believes. That's not the case. And the other thing is, in the current mainstream political discourse, anyone who is not center-left or left-leaning is a fascist, a Nazi, a white nationalist, whatever you want to call it. So in their minds, anyone who holds this label, it is justifiable to use violence against them. We can see this time and time again. Anytime Antifa shows up somewhere, innocent people get hurt. Someone who just wants to have a conversation went to a free speech rally, and some asshole wearing a hood and a mask comes up behind him and bashes in the back of his head with a bike lock. This is not something that has happened with right-wing movements for a long time. So there is a clear difference here. The left and Antifa labels anyone who is not a part of their ideology on the left of the political spectrum as just the most horrible person possible, that you are literally Hitler if you are not with them. And the right doesn't necessarily see that. They don't see in terms of, if you're not with us, you're against us. They can differentiate between different political groups. So they don't go around bashing in random people's heads with weapons. They don't go around throwing Molotovs into storefronts. They don't go around and burn cars like they did in Germany. And of course, they went and talked about Charlottesville, but that's one example, and the person didn't even die directly as a cause of being run over by a car. The person died because they were in terrible health and they had a heart attack. Now, of course, if you're in the know, if you're aware of what's actually going on, Antifa and leftist groups are being propped up by neoliberals in order to shut down free speech, in order to shut down anyone who is center or center-right in the political spectrum. They are paid by activist groups like the Open Society or Open Foundation, things like that. They're paid by Democracy Now! Groups. They are funded by antagonizers. They are the brown shirts of leftist neoliberals. That's it. They think that there's some revolutionary communist or anarchist or something. They are literally funded by the people that they say that they hate the most. And in reality, I don't think that this exists on the right. There is no unified right-wing movement. The whole meme of the right-wing death squad, it's just a meme. You know, you're not going to see someone wearing an SS uniform going around and hunting down civilians. It just doesn't happen, and it's not going to happen if we stop all of this political violence. Here's the goal of the antagonizers. They stir up shit with the leftists, who then stir up shit with the right wing, and then both sides have to become extremists in order to fight against each other, in order to survive. They want to cause political chaos. So you just egg on one side, and then the other side reacts in turn, because of course you can't just sit there and take it. You can't just have your rallies be invaded by violent leftists. You can't allow your people to be hammered on with broken bottles and pipes and get stabbed by these crazed degenerates in masks. So yeah, the right will get violent, and they're being egged on by these leftists. I can't say I blame them. I would advocate against using violence as a libertarian, but it's just a fact of life. Political discourse gets violent, and especially when you have one group of antagonizers that are being funded and told, that guy is a Nazi, go out there and bust his head open. And he could just be anybody. He could just be someone who's not involved in politics, who wants to have a discussion about politics. Someone who is center-left. I know there's lots of Antifa, lots of communists, lots of socialists who say that liberals will get the bullet too. I mean, they're eating themselves. All this is doing is dragging more and more people towards the right. We see this political division in the country and all over the world. You were either a hardcore leftist or a right-winger extremist, and there's no possibility of being anywhere else. Even third-party positions like libertarians are thrown out and with the right wing. Now, I may be a right libertarian, but that does not mean I have very much in common at all with right-wing fascists or Nazis or anything like that. No, absolutely not. It's completely ideologically different from me. But the thing is, I'm not going to go around in the streets and start busting people's heads open just because someone said, oh, he's a Nazi. That's not acceptable at all. And innocent people are going to get killed. The more violence on the left, the more violence on the right. It comes and goes in strides, and it's only going to get worse. And it's being egged on by these antagonizers that want to cause... And, well, they're trying to subvert the country. They want to break up the current political sphere in the country. They want to turn people against each other, because united... they'll be able to fight against the corporatists and the neoliberals and the neoconservatives. But if you break them off into groups, divide them up by class, divide them up by gender, then they're too busy fighting amongst one another to realize that they're being stolen from by these super mega elites. And these Antifa people, leftists, they don't realize this. Are they not intelligent enough to realize this, to see where the money is coming from, to see who's giving them their marching orders, to see who's organizing their rallies, who's bussing them into places saying, go bust some skulls? I mean, if you look at that undercover Steven Crowder video on Antifa, holy shit, they're talking about luring people to their cars where they have weapons stashed. What do you think they're going to do? Someone's going to get killed by one of these so-called revolutionaries, and then it's going to be full-on police state in the United States, and I don't want to see that happen at all. And what happens if this gets to the point where libertarians and people who believe in freedom and liberty for the individual, what happens when they start coming after us? I mean, I've already been called a Nazi online because I'm a libertarian, and which is, I don't know, 2 + 2 = 5, I guess. I don't understand, but overall, I think these types of live streams are pointless. So I'll just say that outright. I think having leftists and I mean hardcore leftists, okay, not people like Sargon. That's great to have on your show, but hardcore communists and Antifa members, it's not worth your time, because you know exactly what they're going to say point by point. They're going to spurg out. They're going to leave. They're going to rage quit early. You already know what's coming. I predicted all of the answers and questions that the leftists presented to Mike Enoch. All right, because it's predictable. These people are predictable. They have all of their talking points are purchased by these big donors that fund them. So it's completely pointless to have these types of live streams. And you can see in the debate, Mike Enoch is not some god tier debater, but he completely slapped them down time and time again with questions of why is it that I have to continually justify the existence of my people? Do I not own my body? Do I not have body autonomy? Do I not have freedom of association? And the leftists are just, they're stunned. They have no answer to any of these questions. So it's pretty standard issue. It's fun entertainment. But as far as political discourse goes, these types of conversations are getting us nowhere. And that's my suggestion to Andy and the whole Warski crew that includes JF, in the future, really think about where you're going with these discussions. Fun live streams, cool. Political discourse, not gonna work. Not gonna work with these hardcore leftists. And it doesn't even really work with hardcore right-wing extremists either. I mean, their points are just as predictable. The greatest debates you can have are moderates who have different opinions coming together and having a civil discussion, a civil debate. Having two screeching autists yell at each other for 2 hours is not helpful at all. It's entertaining, sure, but it doesn't help our political sphere at all. And we're coming to a point where, yeah, we need to focus more on real political discourse rather than just memes 24/7. You know what I mean? So that's about all I have to say about this debate. I'm looking forward to Mike Enoch, Richard Spencer versus Sargon and Avocad, and as of yet, I don't know who Sargon's debate buddy will be, but that's going to happen next week, so we're going to tune in for that and have a lot of fun. See you then.